58.
Okay, hello everybody. This is Paul Power, and we're going to do another little 20-minute session with Robert Nelson. And today's date is December 26th, 2018.
Okay, it's been a while. Last time we did one of these, I was talking with you about channeling, trying to explain some of the do's and don'ts, situations about it. I wanted to go into a little more detail. This may help you be able to work with channeling in a safer way if you choose to do so. The truth is, we are all channeling all the time and we don't even know we're doing it. There was a show on Star Trek Next Generation in which, and I have to say all the shows were quite interesting from concept levels, even scientific levels. In this particular show, one of Captain Picard's, captain of the Starship Enterprise D, I think it's called, one of his professors from school days in archaeology brought him a gift. The gift looked like two bowls. Nothing fancy, just a bowl facing up and another bowl on top of it, facing down. When you lift up the lid of this top bowl, there are a bunch of little holes in the bottom bowl where it looks like bowling pin figures fit into. Now what this is supposed to be showing is the nature of our personalities, our individual personalities, being composed of many different aspects. And of course, you put the top of the bowl back over on the bowl, and it represents the entire personality. We often don't know we're even doing this because it comes so naturally to us. Sometimes we're channeling the traffic cop. Sometimes we're channeling the teacher or a parent or healer or an advisor. Sometimes we're channeling our temper. They're different. We're channeling all the time. Sometimes we're channeling an investigator. Now, I tell people, if you're going to channel God. Go for the best because you deserve it. And that's the safest thing to do. But a while back, one of my friends asked me, well, Bob, when you do a channeling, is it just an altered state? And my answer to that is, yes. Any channeling is. Think about it for a minute. If you go from being peaceful and relaxed to angry, boom, your state's altered. You're in an altered state. Well, in order to be able to do a channeling, you have to go into an altered state, or it's not going to happen. The basis that allows a channeling to happen is the meditative, relaxed, altered state that permits the channeling to happen. Without it, it's not going to happen. Also, when you allow another entity, soul, spirit, however you wish to put it, to come through you, that too is another altered state on top of the base altered state that allows the channeling to happen. I know in one case I had a dog of mine by the name of Kira. She was an American Eskimo Spitz at a friend's house in Davenport, Florida. And I had gone into an altered state to do a channeling. I was going to channel JFK. All of a sudden, when I went into the altered state that permitted the channeling to happen, Kira jumped up on my stomach and chest and began barking wildly. She was really upset. It was like the lights aren't on and nobody's home kind of a feeling, you know? The person she knew wasn't there anymore. They had to put her in another room of the house. And during the entire channeling, she was, what I was told, she was scratching on the door trying to get out. When I came back and JFK pulled away, and Kira came out and she saw everything was okay and everything was fine after that. So my best answer to that question, when you're channeling, is that just an altered state? Well, if that's meant to be a put down, that's not acceptable. But the fact is, yeah, it's an altered state. You have to go into one to do one. And then when the being is coming through you, that's not you, you damn sure are in an altered state. Again, I know there are different forms of channeling. There's automatic writing, which I advise everyone against. There's Ouija board. Again, I advise everyone against that. These are extremely dangerous options that you shouldn't mess with. You don't know what you're getting over there. If you are contacting someone that's not part of your own personality, if you're contacting someone in the great beyond or wherever, you don't know for sure that if you're trying to get Aunt Maudie, so to speak, you're really getting Aunt Maudie. Even the Bible says, test the spirits. That's a quite healthy way to handle things. But when it comes to automatism, I've done it. It didn't have a happy ending, so to speak. It actually can do more harm than good. And along this same topic, people will say, oh, well, I channel, I get in contact with my guide, and my guide tells me what clothes I should wear and what foods to eat. Well, a real guide won't do that. If they're doing that, they're taking over your life and they're wrong. A real guide will let you live your own life, make your own mistakes, and your own successes, and be there to help you understand the situation so that you can have a happier life and be a better person. But they won't wave a magic wand. They're not going to make your life happy, perfect. They're not going to tell you everything you should do or how to do what you should do. I know that in my relationship with the Archangel Michael, and Paul can tell you, there are times that I have had some very harsh words.
That's true.
Why couldn't you lift a feather, a single feather, to help me not to be abducted by the damn gray aliens? And other things. But it's really not his job to live my life for me. With all the stuff he can do, it's not his job to live my life for me. And he would be stepping on an authority that he has no business stepping on if he did that. I'm not going to go into that further at this moment. Just like with me. Can I take over situations in the world and control them? Yes. Will I? No. Because then I would be commanding everybody else's lives. There would be no free will. I would be misapplying the power of God. I'll never do that. I'm not sure I would even be permitted. There's a part of me that if I started to do that would very probably kill me in order to keep me from doing that. I have experimented, in fact I know I did a bit of recording about this previously. With controlling other people's minds, it can be done. It's wrong. It's hellishly wrong. It's treating a being like an object. There is no way to make that right. There is no way to okay it or just to put a nice positive spin on it. Some things are just flat effing wrong. So that comes to the point that when I am channeling another being, normally I'm gone. It may be my son from Atlantis, it may be JFK, which is doubtful. These days he hasn't been coming through me anymore. It may be Michael, it may be, I don't know who. Another warning is I stick with people I know. I know the Archangel Michael. I've grown to trust him, so I don't always agree with him. Same with my Atlantean, my Atlantean son Yarid. I trust him. And, you know, every being who comes through you is going to have their own flaws and their own character traits. But then, when that being leaves, you come back again. But you might notice afterwards that you're actually acting a little bit like them. It's because they've altered your brain chemistry a little bit. They didn't mean to, it just comes with the territory. And will wear off again. My advice on channeling is either one, just don't do it. Or two, if you're going to channel, be very careful. Channel only someone you know and can trust. Better yet, channel God, the love of God. Because you can't do any better than that, and you deserve the best, so give yourself the best. There are, excuse me, beings like the Archangel Michael, I've referred to him as Michael, Michael, who when he comes through, I'm aware of everything that's happening. He says it's the way of heaven. Heaven wants it to be that way. Openness. I can't control anything when he comes through. I can't, like for example, if something's going on in the other part of the room, I can't turn my head and look at it unless he wants to look at it, and if he doesn't, then I don't know what's going on. I find out after the session is over from someone else, from people who've been watching it. But when it comes to beings like my son, Yarid, I basically have to be told what happened after he leaves. So there are different levels of channeling depending on the being that you're interconnecting with and depending on your own progress and your own spiritual growth. That has a lot to do with it. One thing I would definitely advise, prayer before channeling is a good thing to do. It's a must. A silent prayer, doesn't have to be vocal. But also, trust yourself like you would trust God. This can help keep you safe. And if during the session, if you become aware of something that just doesn't seem quite right, it may not be a big thing, it may be something very minor. Well, you have the power and the right to stop the channeling. You have the power and the right to actually shove that other being out and come back into yourself and take control again. And you have every right to do that. So I wanted to say, what's our time on this, Paul?
We got plenty of time.
Okay. I wanted to say back...
7 minutes.
Okay, that's great. Back in the early 1980s, in 1982, and I think I made some mention of this previously, I channeled a book called Keys, Love Letters from God. It's my intent, and I've talked this over with Paul, very soon to start reading the love letters, one per session. They won't take long. Some of them probably won't take even 5 minutes. Some of them might take 5-10 minutes to read. They're short. And there's a lot of good advice in there. I may actually get the book recopyrighted. It is copyrighted. I may get it recopyrighted as Keys Life Letters from God in the future. But I can see where the love aspect is not lovey-dovey. It's not sweet. It's more advice. The love of God coming through in the form of advice that can make life work. This channeling started with me in 1982 when I was asked one noontime at lunch when I was at work to pick up a legal size pad of paper and a pen. I felt this wonderful presence. I knew exactly who it was. I wouldn't have done this otherwise. And it began writing through me in a cursive handwriting style. I don't write cursive, I write in manuscript print. My cursive is horrible. You can't read it. I can't even read it. That's how bad it is. But this was beautiful, and it was in a style like somebody who owned the store. The sessions would go on, and when I'd be thinking, okay, the next sentence ought to be A, B, C, D, E, it would be writing during that same time a totally different sentence than what I was thinking. Totally, individuated from my mind, but within my mind, using my mind. I knew who it was. I knew I was safe. I knew it was God. At the end of the letters, the signature would be G-O-D. He used a name we are familiar with. And since the English language is the major world language at this time, he used a form that most everyone would understand. While the writing would happen, for me it was like if I was Clark Kent, hopped into the phone booth and stripped off Clark Kent's clothing and then flew through the air, Superman. That kind of exhilaration, it was wonderful. Peaceful, loving, wonderful. I want to also remind you, I was not ordered to do this. I was asked if I would be willing to. I could have said no and it would have been all right. It would have been fine. That's part of how I knew who it was, God. God wouldn't force. So, after about 3 of these letters happened, I didn't like having to go back to the phone booth and put on Clark Kent again. Clark Kent's a nice guy. It's more fun being Superman. So I stopped the sessions. After about 3 years went by, I was told that I would meet someone who would work with me on a project that was what my life was about. Michael told me. When I doubted him and argued with him like I always do, he said, turn the radio on. There will be an announcement in a very short matter of minutes about a white dwarf star that's been found in your sector of the galaxy and which is a quite rare phenomenon. And he said, oh, and by the way, it wasn't there before I just told you. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous, but oh, hell, all right, I'll turn on the damn radio. And I did. I was making my bed up. It was a Saturday morning. And all of a sudden, the announcer interrupts the song and says, we just got an announcement from NASA. And I'm standing there going, oh my God. And it continued, and he said, they have just found the presence of a white dwarf star in our sector of the galaxy, which they say is quite a rare phenomenon. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, Michael, you're getting your point across very, very, very well. We've got like 1 minute and 27 seconds, 26 seconds. It was after that, a couple of months later, that keys began, and I can get more into that in our next session. But I want to put it on YouTube, maybe get it into Facebook from there, and if you want to listen, listen. If you don't, don't. That's up to you. Anyway, with that, I'll bid you all Godspeed.